and I was given some 45,000 from help. Some 45,000 from help. The first thing I did was to go to some guy, a Luo guy who was doing some suits. And I did several blue suits and we bought some shirts and some ties. And for folks who know me at campus, I used to dress in a suit from Monday to Saturday until my name became Mr. Diplomat, right? My nickname. So that has been my inspiration, right? The environment shaped who I wanted to be. That newspaper, just seeing what it was. And therefore, everything I default to 1999, that
Yeah,
admiration to be something.
yeah.
Yeah.
Wow, that's really, really empowering. What power, even the gentleman you talked about, Mwalimu Kefa, and the difference he made in your life just by simply giving you a newspaper. That's really powerful. And for you, in that case, what is the place of mentorship in your life?
And so every woman, every man born from the loins of a woman has a
Hmm.
peculiar ambition.
Hmm.
Anyone, even
Yes.
even those who are born as mad people or mentally sick,
Hmm.
they have ambition. But this ambition must be guided
Mm.
because this ambition becomes restless, or
Hmm.
this ambition can be all over the place, or this ambition cannot be grounded. And therefore, mentorship becomes so important. By the way, Mwalimu Kefa is still alive. In fact, during the funeral arrangements of my father, he was the vice chair of the committee, of the
Oh,
steering committee. He's
yeah,
still very around,
he's still around. Paul
right?
about your dad, by the way. Hmm.
Yes, Asante. So I have these mentors. I have a boda guy who is a mentor. When I'm in Chegula, I sit with him and he just takes me through traditions and things, around. That's why I'm so associated with Chegulo. I pretty understand my culture and how people perceive you, view things and all that. And it has really helped me. And I have been able to interact and be mentored by people like the late Kofi Annan, and such powerful people like President Adeshina. But and I have also spiritual mentors. So I'm an Adventist, and therefore I have interacted with, an elder in the church who has not even gone to school. They are still my mentors. And what I do is I create time. In a month, I do like 3 mentorship sessions of an hour each. And it's been my discipline for the last 7 years.
That's great. I love what you say that mentorship is all rounded, that you're not only mentored maybe by people who maybe are
Mm.
above you or
Mm.
superior to you in their career, but you can be mentored by anyone around you because life is holistic. It's not only from one lens. But
Yeah.
now, based on that, and now that you are a university chancellor, what would you define as impactful leadership? And especially as you work with the next generation, what, in your view, is impactful leadership?
So you walk to a gate of a university and you find these young people, some of them are slightly old, who are in those halls, who are in those academic halls and walking through those corridors. And they hope that when they walk through the gates of that university, they will become something.
Mhm.
And you have been given responsibility at the very highest level
Mhm.
of leadership by country to be
Yeah.
the titular head to steer. And so impactful leadership for me starts by inspiring
Mhm.
this community
Yes.
of students, community of faculty, and the community of stakeholders to look at tomorrow with hope. You will allow me, I interacted a lot with my grandfather and grandmother. My
Yes.
grandmother used to tell me, one day you will wake up and it will be harvest day.
Yes.
Right? You're a farmer, you
Mm.
doing. planting maize or something, you're waiting. Then that day, a cock crows, the sun comes out from the east, and it's harvest day.
Mm-hmm.
So my responsibility
Yes.
with the team that we have put together, the
Yes.
chancellors of, is to inspire. So impactful leadership for me is to inspire.
Yeah.
So when I reflect from the time I was appointed, the time I was installed today, I ask myself, are those
Yeah.
students inspired to see the possibility of tomorrow? Is our vice chancellor, that
Mm-hmm.
professor of horticulture, when I
Yes.
look at him, is he inspired to be part of the cooperative university?
Mm-hmm.
Those powerful 300 staff
Mm-hmm.
at cooperative, are they inspired to be part? So that's number one.
Yes.
Number two
Mm-hmm.
is the clarity of mission,
Mm-hmm.
right? Most of the time, we have put to paper what we want to become. We talk about it, but
Yeah.
are we clear? Are we
Yeah.
clear?
Yeah.
So for me, together with the team, is the question is that in our interactions, in the role we have to strengthen governance,
Yeah.
the role we have to represent the president as the titular head, the role we have to take the university to the world, are we
Yeah.
making everything in the mandate clear? And then maybe the last one
Mm-hmm.
is the issue of vision. Many people talk
Yes.
about a visionary, right? A leader
Mm.
should be visionary. But what does that really mean?
Yeah.
Example, Cooperative University has something on paper for the next 57 years, which started in 2018. So
Mm-hmm.
if you do 2018 plus 57, that comes to around 2075.
Mm-hmm.
So 57 years from now, or 50 years from now, I should be, inshallah,
Mm-hmm.
87.
Mm-hmm.
So today, the
Yes.
university community, the university must feel 2075.
Yeah.
My presence, our presence as an office,
Yeah.
my presence as the chancellor, the university must feel. So clarity, inspiration, and getting
Visionary.
everybody to adopt into the vision.
No, I really like that. That I think is so, so important. And the ability to paint a vision and to believe and buy into that vision is really, really, really critical for leaders. And for you, in terms of leadership skills, today is a very transforming world and you're a global citizen. What do you think some of the most critical leadership skills are that the young people today need in this
So,
rapidly changing world that we live in?
Phyllis, for me, there is a mantra that guides my life around leadership. One is the world will never
Mm.
be fair.
Mm.
Okay, so don't have expectations that you will be favored
Mm-hmm.
because you are whatever, or you are
Yeah.
wherever, or whatever. And therefore, you have to build resilience of patience as a leader.
Mm.
What do I mean? Like, even if you think Phyllis is an idiot, you must have the patience to listen to Phyllis and to interact with Phyllis. Because in that idiotism,
Mm-hmm.
there is something that you do not have, or there is something that will save your life as a leader.
Mm.
Give time.
Mm-hmm.
Young people, we are not patient,
Mm.
but I advocate for strategic impatience, right?
Yeah.
Slightly strategic impatience,
Mm.
right? Because look at this thing that is happening today. Most of us don't have jobs. We
Yeah.
graduated. My colleagues, I graduated within Masinde Muliro in 2011, April. We did disaster preparedness, bachelors. I have
Mm-hmm.
colleagues who don't have jobs.
Jobs, yeah.
And it's not that I'm better than them.
Mm.
And it's not that these guys are doing things wrong.
Yeah.
No, it's the whole circumstance and the whole architecture of the world that has not given them a platform to thrive.
Mm-hmm.
But these are young leaders who can do great. Ever since I was appointed, I'm so privileged to read so many resumes, so many messages. In a day, I receive
Mm.
around 500 texts.
Yeah. Yeah.
WhatsApp is more than 1,000 about people.
Yeah.
And I take some time to read, especially in the evenings.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So these are young leaders. It may not make sense to say, slightly be patient,
Yeah.
but I can tell us it may it may look like there is a wall. It may look like you as a young leader, you do not have the platform and the opportunity, but the ability to hang in for one more day. Mine may have come faster.
Mm-hmm.
I may be that youngest chancellor on the continent of Africa.
Yeah. Yeah.
It may have come faster, but the ability to hang in just for one more day.
Mm.
Because the tapestry of life unfolds in a manner that you can't imagine.
Mm-hmm.
So for young people listening and out there,
Mm.
I'll repeat the words of my grandma. One day you will wake
Mm-hmm.
up and it will be harvest day.
Namaste. I like that.
Take one more moment without that job, read about something new. Take one more moment about that dream organization, go to their website and just read about what they do. Maybe by reading, you will understand there is some story you need to weave on your cover letter. Take some time to talk to somebody else who has practiced HR differently to hear the different dynamics.
Mm-hmm.
Because, like, for example, I tell people in multilateral institutions, it's not that you don't deserve to be here. You can apply for a job, for
Mm-hmm.
example. You apply for a job to be, you're an accountant, very experienced in this department.
Yeah.
Let me take an example of Africa Development Bank.
Mm-hmm.
In that department, there is a Kenyan. They are saying this time round, we will look for a francophone. So it's
Mm-hmm.
not that
You're not qualified. Mm-hmm.
you're not qualified, but it's because of the nature of the institution. This time they need a francophone. So, or this time they want to recruit from Argentina or Brazil, which are less represented. So strategic impatience
I love
is
that.
something I would advocate for.
And where do you see how do you think universities can help bridge that gap between academic learning and leadership in action? Because sometimes, as you've said, the environment we live in, maybe the jobs are not today as many as they would need to be. But what role can institutions like yourselves play to bridge that gap between learning and leadership in action, and also working with young people to shape the future of innovation, development? What role do you think universities would be able to play there?
Yeah, I think a relationship between industry and universities now it's more than important. It's more important than ever
Mm-hmm.
before, right? You Phyllis, you are in this world of, development and working with various governments and working with public sector, working with private sector to be able to push the agenda, whether it's, career alignment on climate change or whether it's about SDGs, the remaining 5 years and all that. So it's
Mm-hmm.
important the universities can be able to bridge that gap. There is a huge gap. There is a huge gap. And for example, now is a contribution that our office the Office of the Chancellor, we are trying to do at Co-operative University to see how we can, from the experience we have had, bring as many industry players so that the students can be able to interact with them. Another thing for innovation is this thing of attachment and internship.
Yeah.
I realized when we were in campus, it was a quick thing. Where can I just get a quick internship and quick attachment? Okay. And then, where you get your attachment or internship pretty shapes up your whole career.
Yeah.
So I was you were doing a disaster there in Masinde, Kakamega, and you get next corner shop there, you get your attachment there because you just want to tick off that 3 months. But in hindsight, today I sit here in Beijing, and in my office, I have an intern. You can imagine an intern working at this level.
Yeah.
Right? But most of our students and our colleagues do not apply for these roles. They think they are roles meant for somebody else. Right? So when we are doing career fairs at universities and all that, we need to try and expose, because young people have ideas, young people have these interns and all that. And then another level or layer is about the collaborations that we bring. You saw during my installation, I spoke about Africa Guarantee Fund, Huawei. Now we are pushing on what we are going to do with Safaricom. We are pushing with what we are going to do with various institutions around the world. So we need to bring as much into university so that we can scale the level of innovations. We can be able to scale the level of how do you call it? Explorations within our students. But what is important is Phyllis, courage. Courage. Kenyans, young Kenyans, mid Kenyans, we must be courageous to go for what we want. And we need not to apologize. I keep on telling myself, I don't have even this role of a chancellor. I don't have political patronage. The president and the leadership of the country knew me less than a year, right? Towards my appointment. Courage to go for what you want. It may not work today, but tomorrow it may.
Yeah.
For us, we start giving assumptions. So assumptions and say, hey, mimi mtu wa Homa Bay tu. Sasa hata sijui Phyllis, huyu Phyllis alikuwa CEO wa CAM, ndio anaweza ni link kwa watu. By the way, I've never sent a CV to an uncle or an aunt in my life. No, just
apply.
Talk to your mentors and send that CV and go to your knees if you pray. Go to the shrine if you go to the shrine. Go to the mosque if you go to the mosque. And that's it. Uncles will just sit with your CVs and aunties. Even me today, when people send me a CV, in fact, hapo ndio nawapatia lecture kabisa. Nasema, listen, I will not help you, but I can guide you on a few imperatives. So the universities needs to help that. Even my sisters and my brothers, right? I tell them, no, I can guide you. Because if I tell you I'm going to help you, it's a lie. There is no opportunity today at Co-operative University that I'm going to give you. All those vacancies are filled up, right? And those guys are on permanent and pension. But I can be able to guide you with my experience so that your CV looks better, your cover looks better. Some of those attributes needs to be brought into university career fairs so that students can be innovative, more pragmatic, and have expectations on themselves and believe in themselves, not believe in their big papas and big mamas.
No, I really like what you say, because I always also say the same thing. I've always just sent a CV and gotten called for an interview. And the reason I started Career Site was because I said, why don't we have a platform where we guide people? Because if I can help you tweak your CV, and I've seen it work, if I can tell you, by the way, I saw this opportunity, I think it matches with you and you try for it. That really, really adds value. In terms of policy, do you think there are certain things, because now you've been in different countries, you've seen what happens. Are there certain policies or structures you think that can help also sort of unlock a lot of these opportunities for young people? Because the reality is that the art of possibility lies in politics and in government. There's possibility to utilize policy tools. What are some of the things you think that could really add value in growing employment, in expanding opportunities, so that young people are really leading development within the continent?
I think strategic investments, policies that enable strategic investments. For example, in our country, we need to imagine on, because, for example, our physical space is so constrained. We don't have money. KRA money now is just nearly 70% going to debt, and the remaining is going to recurrent. So we need to think about policies that can be able to unlock innovative financing. And when that innovative financing comes in, we do strategic investments, for example, in the space of SMEs, where we can now be able to have a boom on jobs for young people. Right?
Yeah.
And we can be able also to identify some of the spaces. You know, I sit back and see some of the innovations that come from the TVETs.
Yeah.
Right? If I would be able to advise, for example, if you have some money in the Hustler Fund or wherever, I could make a policy straight on to invest in those innovations in the students who are doing them, because those innovations are boom. They are top. They compete when they are at the university or they are at the TVET college, but nobody can be able to invest them. And then our policies, our frameworks must be long-term. China is working on a paradigm of 100 years.
Yeah.
My son, who is in grade 2, they learn about China 100 years
From now.
Right? And so they are 100 years. But most of the time we push policy, we push laws because of the moments, because of emotions, right? And we get angry and we push our policy when we are angry, or we push a policy when we are too sad, we're just reacting on something and all that. So we need to step back, and steadiness and policy that is looking into Kenya Vision 2100. How do we want Kenya to look like? And then policy. You know, Phyllis, this thing. Competence has its place. If today you take me and put me somewhere to do some index to do something, in as much as I have a PhD or I have a master's or I worked at Africa Development Bank or I've worked in whatever, no. But if you take me and it is, or you ask me about concessional finance, I can have a small contribution to do, because that's where my competence and my merit, my meritocracy aligns. So policy must also, let's get stakeholders who are experts in those spaces to be able to help us. Not every consultant needs to be the one driving policy, because I know Phyllis, right? So I've seen in this country, the Asian tigers who are closer to China here, merit, competence, and long-term vision. Driving that.
I agree on vision and having those long-term development plans. I think it makes such a big difference. And in terms of mindset, the mindset shifts, what do you think some of those young leaders require to really have a lasting impact? You've spoken to some of them, but what do you think we need to change? Because sometimes I feel like it's a barrier in our minds. I also work in a global institution. I lead our global work on industry and commerce and work across different continents. And you realize we are like anyone else in the world. A Kenyan can be top class in everything. So, what are some of those mindset shifts you think we need to have as young people, as young leaders, to make it globally?
So for me, is all of us have fallen and we are short of God's glory. I've made so many mistakes in life. I've
Mm.
procrastinated so much.
Yeah.
I have stepped on so many toes. I've fallen and fallen and fallen and fallen. Making a mistake is not wrong, and we will keep on making a mistake. But realizing that you have made a mistake is so important. And even saying sorry, it's so
Mm.
critical. So as a young leader, you know, one day just closer to 2017 election, a day to that election, I woke up and an email in my inbox was that the board has decided to release you because you are too expensive for our company. Many people don't know that I, closer to 2017 election, I lost a job
Mhm.
and stayed for 9 months without a job. And I could wake up every single day, go sit in a Java with no money to buy anything,
Mhm.
to use free Wi-Fi. And I'm giving this story because I want to answer that question.
Mhm.
And try to use Wi-Fi there in the evening. I go to railways and get my matatu back to Rongai. I had taken mortgage, and that time the bank now was knocking because I had defaulted, and the small car I had, the bank was knocking. And it's not that I did anything wrong, no, just a company, a private company wakes up and says, boom.
Mhm.
And we were expecting our second born 1 month towards that.
Mhm.
But what made me to survive those 9 months? Try. And you know, when you don't have something, when you send stuff, is when you don't get. So
Mhm.
as a young leader, trying to retain some positivity in you,
Mhm.
trying to see that you are better than today. It's so important. And this goes to, because I can even see, Phyllis, the many questions that are coming is about these young people who have stayed for 10 years, these
Yeah.
young people
Yeah.
who have, and young leaders and all that, and struggling with unemployment, and they're having this financial crisis and all that. Your body may be wasted. Your skin may be dashed because you have not had resources, but your
Mhm.
mind and your soul remains in the inside. It has
Mhm.
the advantage of being protected. Retain
Mhm.
some level of enthusiasm and positivity that tomorrow, and then some sort of who you are. You need to be proud of what you want to be. So you can't just be everything. By the way, that was the time I made a decision that, okay,
Mm.
I've been a local banker, commercial banker. I've gone to private sector and I have worked here and they have given me a marching order to leave. Now, I'm only going to apply for jobs at Africa Development Bank, World Bank, or UN. Even when I saw a job that I fit in the banking,
Yeah.
I said, I'm not. So as a young
Mm.
leader, sometimes you need to be proud. You need to have some sense of pride and
Yeah.
say, this is my path. I'm going for this. How long it takes, I'm going for this. There's a favorite video I like watching of Usain Bolt training, and the
Yeah.
father is watching him. He trained for 20 years and he was
Mhm.
vomiting. And the father was saying, every time I come to see my son, I ask him to stop this thing. And then immediately he ran that Berlin 100 meters where he did 9.58,
Yeah.
which I say, preparing for 20 years for less than 10 seconds of fame and a lifetime of legendary,
Yeah.
right? So young leaders must be able to hold for longer. But when the moment comes, like President Theodore Roosevelt says, you will shoot like a rocket.
Amazing. And for everyone, we are seeing the questions streaming in. I'm switching to questions in the next few minutes, so keep them coming. We'll go through all of them. But as a leader, what do you think some of the common leadership challenges young leaders, or even just leaders generally, face are? And how have you overcome them, or how do you advise us to overcome them?
Again, we have all fallen short. So it's not, I'm
Yeah,
not perfect. I'm not even close to perfect, right? I
I
make so
know.
many
None
mistakes,
of us
but I'm
are.
so, yes, we make. But as a leader, you need to have some sort of selflessness. You need to love people. You need to love even the dirtiest around you. You need to love them. Most of us, you get this thing. And Phyllis, you are at this high level previously today and tomorrow. And this thing elevates you to be like a god. Once you go to that Gazette notice and the whole world, you know, throngs around you and everybody's clapping around you, the whole Chegulo village and all your schoolmates, and now there you have bodyguards and big cars and all that. We end up forgetting. Every time I pinch myself, the love for people. And Jesus has always been my role model leader, Son
Mm,
of God.
yeah,
Sorry for those who are unbelievers, but the Son of God, the creator of the world. Look at how he interacted in Nazareth, in Capernaum. Even the dirtiest, even the blind, those who are like outcasts. So leaders, for me, the biggest challenge with
yeah.
leadership in our country, on our continent, in the world, we don't love our.
Mm,
That's why we speak the way we speak. That's
mm,
why we do what we do. We just vomit on people.
mm,
Right. It's not the doing of this person to be poor. It's not the doing of this person to be miserable. It's not the doing of this person to be the way they are. But I'm telling you, and I've seen it even before I became a chancellor. I've seen just having a moment with somebody
mm,
and patting them on the shoulder and say, keep going. Even without giving them anything, you just see a sense of renewing them. And
mm.
somebody writes to you years later and say, that conversation, short conversation, that hug you gave me, that handshake you did
Yeah,
when we were at church somewhere or a market somewhere. So we need to love. Once we love our people and the stakeholders as a leader, we will
yeah.
serve them. We will serve them better. And so young
I love
leaders here
that.
who desire to be something in life, by the way, you can't wake up, Phyllis, you can't wake up and be a CEO that you are not today. So even if you are tamaking today and the character you want to exhibit as a minister, as a CEO, as a president, as whatever, has to be practiced today.
Yeah,
So don't wait for the day you will be on the Gazette notice and say, now that is the time, for example, I'll start dressing well, I'll start speaking to people nicely. No, you will speak to people the way you speak now. People don't
mm-hmm.
change. Power and leadership of the moment reveals who you are. So start speaking. So even if you have that dirty shirt, the way you wash it today, it's how you will wash the better shirt of tomorrow.
Yeah,
The way you speak to people today, the way you respond to their messages today. When it comes, then
The
It
same
it will
thing.
just refine and reveal better who you are.
No, I agree with you. One of my mantras is that kindness is a superpower because
Oh
people just
yes.
want to be seen and heard and being
Yeah.
kind to people. So I agree with you on how treating people right is so, so, so important. As we transition into questions from the group, you can see, of course, the rising challenges we have, which are political, economic unrest, climate change, gender inequality. The world has a lot of confusion and challenges. But amidst that, what do you see as the largest or the biggest opportunities for youth-led solutions
Mm.
to address some of these challenges and also create opportunities?
So when I'm speaking at career events,
Mm-hmm.
especially for students at universities, I try to
Yeah.
tell them,
Mm-hmm.
you need to start positioning yourself where action will be in the next years. So I tell
Mm-hmm.
them, look, today everybody throws this word out there, climate change, climate change, climate change, climate change, or Paris Agreement of
Yeah. Cool.
2015. COP 30, we are going to Brazil, right, Phyllis? We are going to Brazil, COP
So
30,
let's
and
meet.
all universities, you hear people, green technology, green infrastructure, green. Listen, now when you're doing education, your question should be, how should I become a green teacher then? How should I become a green doctor?
Mm-hmm.
So that whatever you are doing, even if it's wood technology or engineering or whatever, so that
Yes.
it starts to align with that,
Mm-hmm.
so that you are in the area of action, so that when action comes, it picks you and you are part of it. So don't ignore. Today, the world is trying to understand intelligence. That's why there is this thing called artificial intelligence. So we have natural intelligence. Your IQ is natural intelligence, but the world is trying to develop artificial, a mimicry. So don't just
Mm-hmm.
sit there. Try also to put yourself in the pathway of that thing, right? I see WhatsApp Meta has put its AI, right? You need to pop in and see what it speaks about who you are,
Mm.
right? So that you are on that pathway, area of action.
Yes.
But let me be controversial. There are many opportunities today. So many. There are a lot of jobs. But the question is where and to who,
To, mhm.
right?
Yeah.
So today, China here, they recruit teachers. Why is it that they don't recruit Kenyan teachers?
Mm-hmm.
A Kenyan teacher only knows English and Swahili. Swahili inaishi hapo Turkana na inaishi hapo Mandera.
Mm.
You seated there. When you take your time on Facebook, on TikTok, have you ever just taken time to start learning French on your phone?
Duolingo.
Duolingo, right?
Yeah.
Because that can be the difference maker. Your easy time too, so that you start just parlaying Francais and bonjouring and just your easy way
Yeah.
is look for that big job and big check. Critical.
Yeah.
So it's important to be able to map our pathways so that our pathways can navigate where there are actions.
Mm-hmm.
There's something that I did in 2017 when I was tamaking that really helped me. I bought a counter book. And because I had said I'm only applying for AFDB, I'm applying for World Bank and UN alone. By the way,
Mm.
that's the time I understood the entities in the UN.
Yeah.
And before I went for a job, I could read about
Mhm.
the history of that UN entity. I could read some of the projects they were doing in Kenya. I could read what they were doing in the world. By the time I was going to the job section,
Mhm.
my story, where I could write my cover letter, was very different.
Very
I
different.
could change my story being a bank at Chase Bank to
Yeah.
reflect how important I can be for them on what they do,
Yeah.
right? Because of the power of information.
Yeah.
Most of the time, we shy away from information as young people, as young leaders. So we need to
Mm.
be of action, right? So that
Yeah.
we understand. Like today, if we just sample, we are 83 of us here, we sample 10 people and ask them, what is artificial intelligence?
Mhm.
Hmm. Hata wenyewe, they are smiling here because they know. They just hear about it and we know and we do it. By the way, now on a very serious note, it requires a lot of sacrifice to be at the top.
Does.
You may do your degree, you may have your entry role, but personally, for the last 6 years, I tell people I've not eaten any of my money. I've not gone for any of my holiday. In fact, for people who know me, the only place they have been seeing me is Chegulo because I was coming to Chegulo to see my dad who was sick.
Sick. Mm.
Simple as that. But any other time, it's trying to make yourself, because there are layers. Down here, you are so many, and you are
Mm.
competing for little spaces. In the middle, the numbers keep reducing. So when you start learning some French, some Mandarin, it moves. You start reducing. And then when you start becoming the best in your field, even in riding a bicycle, when you start becoming the best, you move up here and the opportunities become more and you're very few. And that's how you get picked.
Mm.
I've never sat in a finance class, but I took time personally.
Mm.
All my courses, I've never been in a finance class, but I took time to do. I've never even done CPA, but I took time myself to read finance and to understand these things. I'm now
Mhm.
one of the fewest experts on concessional financing in the world,
Mhm.
right? Contributing even to G20 financial architecture, but doing it personally.
Mm.
I'm in one of the leading concessional financing window here in China at Asian Infrastructure Investment Bank, something that I did it myself, not in class, not in my previous roles. So you have to do that. So I can encourage my friends, these
Mm.
phones that we have has a lot. As we wait for that day of Harvest Day,
Mm. Which is
let's
coming.
try, which is coming, and it
Yes.
will come.
Yeah.
It will, we can fast track
Yeah.
towards it.
Thank you so much for those insights. I want to switch into the questions. I know you can also see them, but I'll go through them. There are quite a number. So one of the questions, if Bon, you can come on the screen. Rosie will unmute for you. You can ask your question yourself if you're able to. Rosie, please unmute him if you can. If you've dropped a question, be ready to be unmuted so that you can ask your question. Rosilda, can you unmute for me? Okay, as she does that, maybe I'll just ask Bon's question. But he asks, what key lessons have you learned over the years that have helped shape your career? I think you've spoken about them, but I don't know if there's anything specific you want to add for Bon's sake.
Come again.
He's asking, what key lessons have you learned over the years that have helped shape your career?
It will never be a straight path.
Mm.
Never,
Yeah.
right? So people may see now and admire it and say, wow, this guy, Chancellor, an international civil servant and all that. But it's been selling loans, right? I was selling loans,
Mm.
hawking loans. Selling loans and insurance is one of the hardest things. And it was just the other day.
Yeah.
I go to Phyllis here and say, chukua loan, chukua
Please.
insurance. So
Mm,
tough, so tough, right? And tukiwa hapo Mandazi Road, hapo Rongai, tukiishi hapo. So it is never a straight path.
it's never.
It has a lot of
Mm,
pain. There is a lot of pain, but
mm,
that pain will one time end. So that's what
mm,
gets gets me going, gets me going. There are those moments when I've hit a wall, but I ask myself, so if I give up, then what? Right? I give up, I die, I walk away from myself, then what? So there are lessons like you have to keep going, to keep going, right? Your boss tells you something and you're just like, wow. My studies and the whole thesis is thrown away. Your whole assignment is thrown away. You are made the most stupid person in the world. We have all this, but we just have to keep moving, even with low little steps forward. Please,
mm.
let's keep moving. Yeah.
I like that. Sarah asks, what can you advise someone who graduated almost 10 years ago but has never gotten a permanent job? She loves what she studied, but can't seem to find footing in her industry.
Most of us just apply for jobs. They are very good consultancy roles across institutions. You need to try those ones. For example, those who wish to work in international institutions, don't just be going for vacancy area. Try and go to the consultancy area, junior consultant. It may be your entry, right? You find a junior consultant role, it may be your entry. So try those ones. And then, hey, don't use a same CV, same cover letter, just changing the
All
head.
jobs.
Homo habilis, Homo erectus CV, just forwarding. What you change is, in fact, you have just put places to change the date and the thing until one day you forget even it was supposed to go to Bernard, now you send it to Phyllis, right? Try to write a story. Listen, this is how we recruit today. I take 1 minute to read a cover letter. I don't even look at mostly the CV. I look at the cover letter, the story. You know, human beings, we love stories. I want to see a story. Don't start telling me how you are a hard worker, you are innovative, you are a team player. It's not you to tell me how you are. No, just tell me your story. Tell me your story, how you were in Moi University and you are doing this thing and your studies in international relations excited you to learn more about geopolitics, and you are looking for this consultancy role to start your journey in international relations or transnational governance and all that. And stop there. It's honest, it presents humility, it presents aspiration, and I'll call you for an interview.
Mm,
But
I
you
like.
telling me nothings. I know you just graduated last year, but you're trying to put nothings and trying to tell how you can work for 36 hours that don't exist. And then you keep wondering why nobody looks at your CV. Just be honest.
Authenticity. I agree.
Authentic,
Mhm.
authentic.
Fred says it's amazing to interact with his Chancellor, Dr. Chitunga. He's an alumni of the Co-operative University. Um, Bon asks, what key lessons did you learn during your lowest moment in your career? And how did that shape you? You spoke about it, but do you want to say anything else?
Of course, people run away from you, eh? You know, today I have so many friends, right? Today I have so many friends, so many. But those moments, people run away from you.
Friends.
Please differentiate between acquaintances people you just know. Try to be a friend to yourself. Meet Phyllis and say, hi, Phyllis, how are you? All good. But be your friend.
Mm.
Treat yourself nicely. Hata kama ni kukula tu ngwashe, kula tu hiyo ngwashe na ni kama unajitreat tu vizuri. Be your friend. That's a lesson. I've learned to, like myself, I treat myself nicely by putting on a good suit. And I make myself feel nice.
Mm.
And I walk and I feel nice. Just myself. I don't care what you say. I don't apologize,
Mm-hmm.
but I'm becoming,
Yeah.
right? I look at myself because when you listen to the world will never be fair.
Mm.
Unajua Phyllis, leo umevaa hii kitu umevaa ni rangi gani? Green ama nini?
We unaona ni kala gani? Now that men are colorblind.
Yes, I don't know if it's green.
Eh?
I can
Yeah.
just hate you because you are with
Yeah.
greenish thing.
Mm.
People can just be like that. So my lowest moments through in my life, my career, and all that
Mm-hmm.
made me to love myself more.
That's true. I
Because,
always say,
I came
mhm.
from the hands of the maker. I
Amen.
came from that village called Chegulo. And that's why I love Chegulo, because that is the place where I'm called our son. When I
Mm.
was just herding cows, I was their son. When
Mm-hmm.
I was a banker selling loans, I was their son. When I was at Kakamega High School, I was their son. When I'm the chancellor, I'm their son. When I
Yes.
die, I will be their
Yes, sir.
son. They will
Mhm.
bury me.
Yeah.
All these other things.
They are neither here nor there.
Mm.
No, that grounding is so important. Rose Ndioka says, wow, you're cut from a different cloth. Walking through unpopular parts like a suit every day. Elizabeth, I love your outlook on mentorship, looking at mentorship across all aspects of life. People tend to get stuck on career mentorship. Um, there's another question about KCSE graduates going for TVET courses instead of going to campus. Why do you think that is happening? And I'll take the next one also from Oga Oga. What advice would you give to the youth who see no future against the backdrop of unemployment in Kenya and Africa? Over and above what you've already said.
So we start with the last one. You shouldn't
Yes.
ever be in a place not to see any future.
Mm.
When we are sleeping now, for me, it's 12:34. Inshallah, the sun, the sun will come out.
Yeah.
So at least there will be a tomorrow. There is darkness out here, but tomorrow there will be light. So you can't say, I don't see a future.
Mm-hmm.
It's today. Let today and yesterday, the pain of yesterday and today, not dictate your tomorrow.
Mm-hmm.
We have people around us who are not doing well, who are struggling. Let me tell you, I have never ruled anyone out. Hata ukuwe mtu unalalanga kwa mtaro. Bernard Chitunga will never rule you out. Because
Mm-hmm.
anyone who came from the hands of the maker
Mm.
can do something. So don't rule yourself out of the game. You are out of the game today. You have been out of the game for 10 years. But let me tell you, you are in your 30s. Kenya may not be working for you today, but I can tell you, the world one day is waiting for you. Hang in, read one more statement, attend such a forum, sleep one more and grab some more rest and wake up refreshed and try again.
That's
And
so
then
true.
for TVET undergraduate, these are courses that just enable you to be a thinker. I've told you guys, I did disaster preparedness. What on earth am I doing in finance? So I used to think I'll be supporting Kenya to stop earthquakes and floods in Budalangi and all that. But in hindsight, these things just help you to be a thinker. You can do education and contribute
Mm-hmm.
to the world in a different way. I tell people, look, when you're doing education, yes, you need to think about being a good teacher, being a good educationalist, but you need to say, hey, how can I dictate the curriculum that NASA experts go through? Because I'm becoming an educationalist. That's what you need to think about. So sometimes we limit what our education is supposed to do for us.
Excellent. So let me
Yeah.
move on. I'm seeing Emily saying the point of where you do your internship shapes your career path is spot on. Is someone is mic is unmuted. Sorry, we don't want to hear your private conversation. And then Mugo says the connection between the universities and the workplace. Rosie, please mute the mics for us. Okay, they have unmuted. Sorry. Yeah, Mugo has a comment. I think you can see them on your end also. Martha Mushiri, great guidance. What is your take on someone who's eyeing for a leadership role? Phyllis, any networking Saturday events that you may share? Yeah, we normally do a career dialogue event. We're going to do, and Bernard, when are you in the country? Because what we do, the people who come virtually, we host them physically like once every quarter. So we'll coordinate and find a
Mid
date for
next
that.
month, I'll be around so we can do something.
We can plan for something mid next month. Okay. So what's your take on someone who's eyeing leadership roles? That's very general, but maybe let me take the next one,
Yeah,
then you
so
can speak
by the way,
to
that
it.
is so important, Phyllis, right? I know we are young and we sometimes we think we are very clever and bright. Look, let me give you an example. I've been appointed and really honored by the president of our country, President Ruto, to be Chancellor. You know that I'm clever. I come to Cooperative University as I'm the titular head. It's a given. But listen, at Cooperative University, from the Vice Chancellor, the University Management Board, the staff there, it's not that I'm clever than them. In fact, sometimes if a test can happen, I may even be number last. So if you aspire to be a leader, you need to know that there are many better people around you and who have gone before you. Sisi young people, tunakwanga na kakimbelembele kidogo. Si mbaya kukuwa na kimbelembele na ujeuri kidogo, ni sawa. Sisi wote ni wenye dhambi, lakini our seniors, it's just like that proverb we are told, even if you have 5 whatever things, you will never be clever than your mother or your father. So when you're a leader, you need to know this guy who does boda boda, and he's 40 years and I'm 36. He has seen more in life. I may know concessional financing. I may know AI, but this thing on the overall architecture of life. And that's why sometimes for me, I've enjoyed the last 4 months at Cooperative University, because I sit and watch the vice chancellor and watch the management and watch some of the things they do, and I'm old because it's amazing. And I see the acumen and the experience. And that makes me, I'm not there to compete to them. Because, for example, my vice chancellor is a professor of horticulture. He's a professor of horticulture. Come on, I just got my PhD the other day. So I should be there to learn. So what it helps me not to have pressure on myself. Young people, we get pressure because we compete in spaces we shouldn't be competing. You can't be me today, but you can be me tomorrow. So small things that you do today will lead you to be me and better than me tomorrow. But if you compete with me the way you are today, you will put a lot of pressure on yourself and you will buckle. And many people will walk away from you because you become a nuisance. So those people want to be leaders. I encourage us to learn from those who have walked the journey. Whether you're a student, you are in a, you see, sometimes you are in a organization and you see your CEO, alafu unasema huyu CEO ni pumbavu, yani hata hawezi jua hii kuongea. my dear, this person has taken years for him to be at that position. It's taken him years. But because of just a small thing, you think any pumbav, that is making you to move back from what could have been an accelerated path for you to be closer. The question I've always asked any person, my acquaintances, how did you make it to be where you are? What has been your story? I remember walking to President Adesina and asking him, Mr. President, what made you to be president of Africa Development Bank? Mr. Ambassador, what has made you? Mwalimu, you are a good teacher. What has made you to be such a good teacher? Hey boss, unajua kureferee game sana. What has made you to be a good referee? And I have picked these lessons. So sikuwe mjuaji sana.
Nice one. There's a question here from Dennis, who's saying, as the youngest chancellor and leader who understands the Kenyan youth experience, what practical advice would you give to young people struggling with unemployment or limited opportunities, especially those outside urban areas, to help them remain hopeful and take charge of their futures?
Kenya is a very complicated society. Very complicated. And there is no messiah. And there is no mysterious arrangement that is going to come and sort out what is happening today and how the country is. Let me start from there. And I've been to around 38 countries on the continent of Africa, and I can see most of those issues they are. And the young Kenyans are in the right senses to agitate for an enabled environment so that they can be able to unleash the potential of who they are supposed to be. But as we agitate, as we ask for our rightful place on the position, because there is a crowd ahead and around us as we run, we try to run. So it's very difficult for us to navigate and to get on the front queue. I want to ask us, just like an athlete, try and see if you can leave the lane you are running and try and get the lane that is the outside. You may end up losing time because, you know, when you run in the inner lane, you will move faster. You may end up even dropping to lower levels. But that can be an option. But also, you know, even that bad uncle of yours, he's still your uncle, eh? Phyllis, ukienda huko Homa Bay and you get that uncle of yours who is very terrible and bad. That uncle speaks some word on you because you think because you are Tony Blair and the former CEO of Kenya Association of Manufacturers. In everything, let's remain with the timeless values that our grandparents taught us. Respect, courtesy are so important. And for the leaders like myself, let's learn to listen. From the president, cabinet, government, let's learn to listen. Let's listen more. Let's listen slightly more. We may be listening, but not enough. Let's listen slightly more.
Thanks for that. I don't know if the mics can work now. Let me see if I've talked so much. Osumba Joe, can you ask your question? Are you able to unmute? Or Rosie, can you unmute Osumba? He says he's 22. I'd love to hear your question.
I've allowed him to unmute, so he can unmute.
Okay. Osumba, please unmute if you can.
Yeah, hi.
Hi, please go ahead. Karibu.
Thank you very much. Hope I'm very audible.
Yes, you are.
Yeah, so I don't know how I'm going to ask this, but basically, I don't know whether there's a certain point where you're still at a very young age. Is almost zero level of experience, probably no network, no nothing, and then you also don't know particularly which path you want to take in life. You have these ambitions, these dreams, you have this vision you have in your head, but you don't know how to or where to follow, basically, because sometimes you look at it and you have so many options, you don't know which one is the best for you. I don't know. Yeah, basically, how do you go about that?
Thank you so much. That's an excellent question.
It's a
Bernard.
good one, Osumba. Look,
Yeah.
Joe, it's okay not to be okay. It's okay not to have clarity, and it happens, right? I never knew I could even be a commercial banker. When I finished Masinde, I was looking for the job that could come first. For me, I applied at Cooperative College, and I applied so many other roles. By the way, there is this place in Westlands. There is a sort of a Catholic, just opposite Safaricom on this other side. There was
Yeah.
even a South Sudan thing that was
Yeah.
advertised there, and I applied. And we got ourselves, we were like 200 of us, and we were conned. There was no job. So it's okay to be all over the place. And we were asked to pay 1,000 bob, I don't know for what, and there was nothing. So it's that place. What we are just saying is try to leverage on as much information as possible, especially at this age where we have so much information, maybe unlike 10 years ago or 15 years ago or 20 years ago. Today, we have so much information. So when you've come from university and you've done BCom, today, you have so much information on the pathways, and we have so many people you can be able to talk to. So try to narrow your confusion into a manageable confusion by leveraging on a lot of information from sources online or people around us, right? But as you do that, that's why mentoring is so key, that whatever you want needs to be shaped or shepherded in a direction that you will be excited about. So try and start getting mentors as early as possible, including your professors or places where you will do your internships. By the way, I used to go to DMs of people and just write to them on my story and who I am, and I desire them to be my mentor. And then don't just tell my mentor, no. I'll tell Phyllis, I have read your biography or autobiography, or I've read your LinkedIn. You were once a CEO of this institution. I desire to, when I grow up, to be a CEO. I desire you to mentor me to know what it takes to be a CEO. But I can't just tell Phyllis, I want you to be my mentor. On what? For what? People have come to me asking me to be a mentor, and they say they want to do business. I've told them I've never done business in my life. So I can't mentor you on anything business. I'll be the wrong mentor. Get somebody who has done business. So utilize information to get clarity.
That's good. Just to add to that is, for me, my clarity also comes if you're a believer from prayer, because sometimes just journaling, thinking through when you've narrowed down, and sometimes just asking God to guide, it's helped me narrow down options in some cases. But I'll be speaking at the end about a mentorship program we run with the Global Mentorship Institute. Maybe you could join it, and we see how we could support with that clarity. Anne Wamai, I don't know if you can unmute. Rosie has unmuted you, so if you can speak, you could ask your question. As Anne is coming, I think I saw Angie. Your hand went up. You can also ask. Rosie, unmute Angie next. Ian, I can see your hand. I'll come to you.
Yes, good evening, everyone. Thank you for
Good
this
evening.
powerful discussion. My name is Angie Odhiambo. I'm a public relations student and a founder of Just a Girl, a young women's group dedicated to shaping voices, values, and leadership from the ground up. So my question today is, how can young people challenge such inequalities through officially recognized or institutional platforms without appearing confrontational or being dismissed as disruptive? Because as a student leader, I often reflect on how institutions can unintentionally reinforce systemic inequalities, especially around gender and opportunity. Thank you.
Thanks for that, Angie.
Thanks, Angie. Yeah, so strong. So when we are confrontational, people walk away from us, right? Especially the leaders. Because also, even the leaders are so depressed and stressed, they don't want even more stress. But and today world is a very interesting world. For example, we anchored on timeless values of respect and courtesy and kindness. You can start writing about your agitation or what you desire for our country, and you remain consistent. I can tell you, somebody somewhere will notice what you're saying. Somebody somewhere. You may not have an opportunity like I have today to speak to the president, but I can have an opportunity now still at my level because I can relate to you to read something that you have written. And that can inform my conversation with the president. Or at your university, maybe you may not have that regular engagement with your vice chancellor or your chancellor. But your consistent writing or proposals or conversations at a CU meeting, an SDA meeting, or at a certain club, or Angie, what you are doing with your leadership platform, somebody somewhere will realize. But once you write it in agitation, people like today, because today, like everybody's just, like in Kenya today, tumekasirika sisi wote. So even something that can make sense, it's put inside there in that anger. And we miss out on picking some very tangible proposals. And for many of you now who have some of our numbers, I may not reply to you, I may not, but you writing to me and just saying, you know what, if this thing was handled in this way, maybe this could have happened. I may read it. You may write to Phyllis. You may write to my DM in Facebook or Twitter and all that. Please do. Write even on the post of that leader that you think. Sometimes today somebody may not read it. Tomorrow somebody may not read it. But I tell you, a day somebody will read it and somebody will ask, who is this one? And they will go and they will find some consistency about you, and you will save a country, you will save a continent, or you will shift policy. So don't give up on your country. Don't give up on your country.
I like that. Thought leadership, very important to document these things. Ian, your hand is up. Please, Rosie, unmute Ian for a question. I have 3 more I'll ask from the chat here after Ian.
Hello, everyone. Can everyone hear me?
Yes, we can. Hi, Ian.
All right. Thank you so much for having me, and thank you so much for this space. And it's very informative, and I really thank God for Brother Bernard's wisdom to mentor young people in this era. And my question, I don't think really if it's a question, but I think it's rather a concern. And I'm at a point whereby I'm feeling And okay, before I continue with my question, I just have to acknowledge, I think, and am I right to also believe, Phyllis, you're still serving in the USIU board?
Yes, I am.
All right, nice. And our speaker is also serving as a head of a university in Kenya. And I'm at a point whereby I'm feeling that universities are doing so minimal. Universities are not giving young people what we really require to push us to where we need to be. Um, Look at how universities are crumbling down, and these are institutions with which offer MBA courses, which offer business courses on how to run institution and stuff. And the other time Moi is was down. The other time Took was considered insolvent. And coming to government and supporting universities, government is always late in its capitalization to whereby funds delay to universities. And this really frustrates students more. So right now, there's this thing called the new funding model for education. Um, Financial year is ending, and there's a lot of students who haven't received their help allocation. And it's so worse that some are still reading allocated, and funds have not been dispersed to their school accounts. And by this, they cannot sit for the exams. And the university also may not understand because of other reasons. So I feel that universities are really letting young people down. And maybe just to ask, USIU is doing it. The private universities are doing it, but very few are privileged to attend those universities. And when we put our focus to government institutions, government is disappointing. I'm from Moi University, a School of Science. I'm pursuing statistics. In Moi University, School of Science and Aerospace, in my computer lab, barely one computer is functioning and running. And that requires me to buy my own laptop or my own personal computer to run this stuff. And if I'm coming from a family which might not maybe be privileged. I'm lucky for me somehow. You find it's difficult. I have to cost share in the library and stuff, and in the library also at times it's down, and so there's constantly this. And universities are places of innovation and research center. So if universities are not these places, do you think our universities are doing the bare minimum? Minimal to empower and put young people into spaces they can be. And also, lastly, I just have to say that it's good for you that from an early age, you knew what you wanted to be and you started working towards what you want to be. But for many of us, though for me, I also know what I want to be and everything I want to do. But for many, are yes, and authentic. Thank you so much. And
Add to that so that you answer together. There was a question on where is the solution to the financial crisis we're staring in public universities in Kenya. So over to you, Chancellor.
You guys, those questions are difficult, right? By the way, I have my Vice Chancellor here, Professor Ngama. Professor Ngama, how are you?
You want to put him on the spot?
I am.
Right. Thank you for coming to cheer me on. You hear this? Uh, uh, these folks are saying our public universities are on this one. I'll speak something, then give Professor Ngama 1 minute because he's more experienced than me. We are privileged to have him because he understands the university architecture better than all of us.
Yeah.
I think, Ian, the questions you're asking are great and are salient. But what I can say, the challenges we are having with our public universities or public education system is years of systemic failures and issues that have compounded over time. And it is now at this season at some of these universities that have exploded up. And we cannot have a bullet solution to them. Whether you're talking about financial issues, because universities out here today, they receive so much money from government, from philanthropy, from their alumni. I'm not sure that me as alumni of Masinde Muliro, I've never sent any money. You see, I'm not sure of an alumni of Co-operative University where I'm privileged to be Chancellor have even sent any money that supports research and supports the university. And now that our country today has this physical space that is constrained, what will we think about? Taking care of the liabilities that we have as a country in terms of loans, or taking care of this, because the priorities are so competing, they are so humongous, and there are so many. But I can tell you something is being done on it. When I was outside, I thought, okay, nobody's doing something about it. It's like it's just been left. But I can tell you here, something is happening on it. And even a request for some of us to come and contribute. We may not have bullet solutions, but to contribute with some expertise, some innovative financing expertise, try to contribute to already the ideas that are there will get our universities to this, level. Issues of the funding model, right? Maybe the university is getting more money because of the funding model, but because maybe, Ian, you are put in a wrong band, now you are not even getting enough money, and because of the physical space, that even small money hasn't come, and it compounds into all that. But something is happening in all that. But not all is gloom. I can tell you, Ian, More University is still a top university. Co-operative University is still a top university. You can become anything. And I can tell you, Ian, you will be anything, whatever you are working towards. And I'm happy that you have clarity. But I want to donate a minute or two to my Vice Chancellor, right? To answer this question, universities are doing little or minimum to prepare Ian and Co to be whatever they want to be in the world.
Karibu, Prof.
Good evening. Good evening,
evening.
Chancellor. Good evening, Phyllis.
Good evening.
Yeah, thank you for donating 1 minute. I just want to concur with what the Chancellor has said concerning universities. The challenge that is in universities is something that has been there for very many years, and it has never been really given attention. For example, if you consider the issue of, for example, the fees paid by students, the fees that has been paid until 2 years ago when the new funding model came into place is the same fee which was set in 1990 when this fee payment by students was started. And that fee was set at 16,000 per year. And it is still the same amount that was being paid until 2 years ago. Even secondary schools where the government has set fees, it is at 53,000. So most of the public universities have had challenges. And this was compounded by things that happened about 2017 when after the former cabinet secretary, Dr. Matiang, cleaned up examinations at KCSC, the number of students qualifying for universities reduced suddenly. And the ones that qualified, they were all now sponsored by government. So the alternative source of funding for universities through self-sponsored students suddenly dried up. And universities still had a lot of bills. So that is how come this has come to be. So the new financing model is trying to address some of those challenges. It still has a few challenges here and there, including what the Chancellor has mentioned about students being placed in bands where they may not belong. And this is being fine-tuned. And we hope that once that is done, it will be able to address the challenges which are being felt in universities. Universities are also trying to do things in looking for more other ways of generating funds. And we really want to appreciate the great work the Chancellor is doing in helping us, even in this area. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Prof, for that.
You see why he's a prof and we are not, right?
We are not. Yeah.
Thank
you so much. I have 3 questions I'll run through quickly from the chat, and then in case anyone has anything else. So Anwamai asked, I don't know if you can come to the mic, but what everyday, week, month habits do you embrace that keep you grounded as a leader? So your habits. And then the other question I hadn't asked is, other than the Bible, which other book has greatly impacted that you'd recommend people to read? And then the last one is, how do you manage to stay at the top always as a young leader, despite the changing trends in the marketplace?
So, one is I pray. After this, it's 1:08 a.m. I need to go and sleep.
You're reminding us. And you have a flight at 4. I don't know what sleep you're doing today.
So, so I pray. In the morning, when I wake up, I thank God for a gift of life. When I get into the car, I read a piece of scripture every single day. And then I'm an Adventist. I go to church on Sabbath, on Saturday. It's something that it's part of me. I watch Arsenal. Okay? Phyllis?
Not Manu. I'm a Manu fan. Okay, go ahead.
I love Arsenal. I watch Arsenal. I don't miss their game. Here in China, games happen at 3 a.m., 4 a.m., so I wake up to watch. It's a habit that keeps me happy. Then lunchtime, I go sit alone after, if I'm eating or not, but I go sit outside and just sit and do nothing for 30 or so minutes. I do it at least Monday to Friday, unless I have a meeting at that period, but it's something that I've done now for maybe 7 years. Just go sit and do nothing and just sit outside and just look around and then just come back to the office. It's a habit that I have developed. Books, Think Big by Ben Carson. You know, my grandmother used to tell me, akili haiwezi pasuka kwa sababu umefikiria. It can't explode or come out of the skull because you're thinking. So thinking big. It's a book that has. So I try to look at situations and say, okay, what's the alternative? What if? Why? What about? Yeah. Was there any other question?
And another one here, life being unfair and being your own cheerleader, what you said, do you think accelerating in ranks needs connections or godfathers? Edwin is asking.
Forget. Edwin, forget. It's worked for many people. I agree. Many people have godfathers. I agree. For me, I have none. I told you the leadership of our country, I knew them last year. Okay? But there are people watching you. Edwin, there are people watching you and who will advocate for you and who will put in a word for you. So keep doing the right thing. Keep telling your story and keep going for whatever you want. Of course, at a certain level, like the level of a chancellor, you can't just spring now and become a chancellor. No, it's a political process. You need political referees, and all these things are required. For me, they came after. But for me, and my vice chancellor is here being part of that list. In fact, if you hear even how my name appeared on that list and the person who proposed my name, had that person had not seen me for years, I think, I don't know, more than a decade. But at least she used to see me on Facebook and LinkedIn. Somebody somewhere is watching you.
Okay. Thanks for that. Sometimes I joke and say the best godfather is God the Father. He can
Yes.
do bigger things than real godfathers.
Yes.
I think those are all the questions. Unless there's someone else, there are many positive comments, people thanking you, appreciating the work you're doing, saying you're an inspiration, and that the conversations are great. It's really been a really, really good evening listening to you. And we can't wait for a physical session. So I'll connect with you on the dates, and then we can host you physically when you're in town. We can do a career dialogue session the week when you're around. It's normally a Saturday evening event. Takes 2 hours, and we all then get to meet each other. And the mentorship is even better when we're just talking to each other in a room. So if there's no other question, allow me to thank Dr. Chitunga very much. I'll ask him to give us his parting shot. And just as he continues looking ahead, what is your vision for a world led by empowered young leaders? And what does the future look like for you? So that you end on a visionary note.
Wow. So let me say thank you, Phyllis, right? It also, I'm a talkative person. I talk too much. Right. So over time, one of my weaknesses is that I talk too much, and I've been working on myself to limit my talking. And such sessions also help me understand myself and all that. But I'm grateful for this opportunity, for what we have learned. I will finish by saying, anyone born of a woman can be anything. Anyone. Today and yesterday can misinform you to rule yourself out of the game. But I can ask you, once your mind will be clear of what you want to become, and you start going for that, and you start assembling accessories, it may take long, but you will be there. So let's remain ruthlessly disciplined. Disciplined. Because in this game, you can't play two sides. You must be very disciplined. Because you can come into a room using a window, but you will not last in that room. You have to remain disciplined to come through the door so that you sit in that room for a long time. You may cheat in an exam and get an A, but when it comes to moments that you are tested of what now is coming from your mind, it will spill you off. So I request all of us to remain ruthlessly disciplined on the narrow and straight and know the possibilities that exist yonder. So I look forward to seeing many of us. I'm the youngest chancellor. I pray that I'm not the last. And I look forward to interacting with many of us as we contribute. We contribute because we will not do everything, but we contribute. You contribute, I contribute, and all of us. Finally, the words of my grandfather, when we bring firewood, all of us, and he used to talk in Kiluya, When you bring many firewoods, many of us, the fire is always big. Do your part, let me do mine, and we shall be there. All the best, folks.
Thanks so much for the words of wisdom from Chegulo village, straight from Chegulo. We really are so inspired. We really appreciate your humility, your kindness, sitting with us until 2 a.m. Your time, we don't take it for granted. God bless you, and may He continue to light your path. And as you take up this role as Chancellor fully, may you succeed in everything that you do. One of the things, as your friends, as a friend and partner, I've extended, I've given 20 scholarships to your top students to attend the next GMI, the Global Mentorship Initiative. We have a cohort starting in August. So I've sent the letter. So if you can send us 20 of your best students, we'll get them into the program.
Is here. He's picked it.
Yes, he's picked it. So yeah. So I sent the letter. So your university, and we are starting off with about 6 other universities. If you're a university student and you're interested, do let us know. But what we've done as Career Site, we are trying to do our small part. We've partnered with the Global Mentorship Institute for a program. We've just finished our first cohort, and the next one will be in August. And what you do is you get an opportunity to participate in 12 virtual mentorship sessions with experienced professionals, and it's a global mentorship program, so you can get a mentor from anywhere. And then they help you to build a standout CV. They help you to work on interviews, how you can present yourself better. They also support you to work on your LinkedIn profile, and LinkedIn, is your CV today. They give you personalized career guidance and help you boost your confidence as you approach the job market. So we'll share with you the details of that. There is going to be an entry in August, and this cohort is valid for final year students in university, or if you've recently graduated and you have less than 3 years experience. So we are going to share the link with you. If you go to any of our social media platforms, the link is also there. But Co-operative University, you have 20 slots, so do finalize with us and give us the names so that they benefit from this. So thank you very much. I want to thank the Career Site team. Grace, our CEO, was on the road from Nyeri, so she can't come on screen. I don't know if she can say hello. Rosehilda, thank you very much. Daisy, Ivona, all the community members, we appreciate all of you. We'll be letting you know when we will have our physical session, when Bernard is around, and we look forward to seeing you physically. But God bless you all.
Yes. Phyllis, you are just too humble. Folks who are here need to know that you advise the former Prime Minister Tony Blair. They need to know that you are former CEO of Kenya Association of Manufacturers. You are
I'm just
boss
Phyllis.
of all these people. So your humility also, thank you. And that's what leadership is all about. So people who are here, she is what we can all admire and aspire to be. And I'm so blessed to call her my friend.
Thank you, Bernard. I'm very humble. Thank you for that. But all these opportunities come from God, so we thank God for them. Asanteni sana, everyone. So please spread the word on the cohort in August. We want to see as many of you take advantage of this partnership we've been able to secure, and we look forward to having you on board. Thank you, Uncle Gekara, for your comment, and for everyone else who has said something. We look forward to seeing you. We'll see you physically, God willing, soon. Bye, everyone. Bye, Bernard. Please try and sleep for 2 hours before your flight.
Bye. Yes, bye. Thanks.
Bye.
Bye.
Thanks so much.
Bye.
Okay, bye-bye.
Bye.